tried to do this as a live stream, but because this is Costa Rica, we're in the middle of high season. We're on the high season on steroids. So sometimes what happens is the electricity will burp. And when that happens, it throws me out of the live stream. It just does all kinds of negative, nasty things. And I have trouble getting back online sometimes. So since I'm having so much trouble getting back online for this stupid thing, I am going to go ahead and just do this as a upload. I don't like doing that. I love interacting with you guys. I'm going to set this as a premiere and then go in there and talk while it's premiering. Yeah, Java Man and everybody else, I am so sorry that this happened. Okay, let me go back. Today I have come not to pillory Katherine Paulson, but to praise her in a small, short way because of something that happened yesterday. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for a place called Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering. It dealt with the quiverful evangelical world, or as my friend Cindy likes to say, taco. She gave me this whole thing about taco, meaning it basically boils down to high demand religious organization, which is what I'm talking about, which is what I always talk about a lot of times, about these places that are non-denominational and they have some really screwed up theology many times. That's my beat. That's been my beat since the day I left one of these places for a Methodist church. Damn, it's hot in here. And it just is what it is. If you don't know, I started a new Substack. My writing is going there. I've had too many requests from everybody I used to write for at Pathos wanting a column again, so that's where my column is going to be. Substack, and then at the website for my book was strangefire.com. So you can look for me there. These are just my opinions. These are my considered opinions based upon what I know and what I've seen. Do your own research, as Renelle Smith likes to say. Don't bully anybody I talk about here, not even Katie Joy. And don't even be rude to each other in the comments. I mean, life is already bad enough out there for so many people, and there's so much hate and violence and various things that let's just not add to that. Okay, yesterday afternoon, sitting here minding my own business when someone PMs me and says, "Hey, did you see this article?" And I was like, no, because this is not somebody I normally read. It was an article that was written by Ron Hensel of the Midwest Christian Outreach. And I read it and was pretty outraged, number one. And number two, I was like, the evidence is staring you in the face. It's the glaring evidence, and you're going to take this tact with it? I was really shocked and surprised. I don't know why anything shocks and surprises me anymore. I feel like I'm probably ancient, and these things just, they are what they are. They are what they are. So, the main thing I had a problem with Ron's little article is that when he wrote about Katie Joy and this photograph that she had used twice, he legitimized her when he did that, which we don't care for her at all. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about her, but this is too important. This is one of those things we have to talk about. And I cannot talk about Ron's response without talking about at least a little tiny bit about Katie Joy. If you just fell off the tuna boat or you flew in from Mars, Katie Joy is a YouTuber, and I'm not even going to go through all of her various crimes and misdemeanors. If you really want to know the horribleness of some of the things she's done, you can always look her up on Reddit. There's a thriving Reddit community that really does a damn good job of keeping track of everything Katie Joy. Okay, so yesterday he wrote this article, and it was all about the photograph that Katie Joy used. She used a photograph of Joni Eareckson, Bill Gothard, and John MacArthur. If you don't know who they are, John MacArthur runs Grace Community Church and Masters University out in Los Angeles area. Bill Gothard is that very, now he's kicked off of the IBLP. He ran the IBLP and other things for many years. The Duggars follow his theology, or they have for many years. And he was disgraced and thrown out for allegations that he had been inappropriately touching and other things of teenage interns at the IBLP. So here we have these guys, both of them that don't have really good reputations. And recently, J-Mac has been all over the news, being criticized left and right. If you remember, during COVID, he got in trouble with the city of Los Angeles for his response, and he kept his church open, and they kept fighting him. He got in all kinds of trouble over COVID, and then he got COVID, and now apparently he has long COVID, from what everybody's saying, and it's impacting him. And he's one of these guys that has survived all of these scandals. They've taken down Doug Phillips. They've taken down Bill Gothard, taken down so many of these prominent guys. And Ms. Paulson alleged that J-Mac, John MacArthur, and Gothard knew each other quite well, and they were peas in a pod kind of buddies. I'm sorry, I've got to check my internet because it's not coming back up, and it's still not coming back up. So good, I'm doing this. She alleged that they knew each other and they were good friends. They influenced each other's theology. The photograph she used is the problem. Okay, I don't have a problem with what she said. Obviously, if you see the photograph, it proves that they knew each other. They were together at the Northwoods Conference Center. I'm trying to review my notes here. At the Northwoods Conference Center many years ago. I think it was late 1979, early 1980s when the photo was taken. And the photograph shows they clearly knew each other. The author, Hensel, he started to pick apart everything about Miss Paulson's use of the photograph, and that's not a problem. Everybody is free to criticize everybody else pretty much anymore. The problem was that he did like many guys in evangelical town. It was overkill. It was like using a nuclear bomb to kill a roach. It really was. So Hensel was demeaning her and saying all kinds of just really nasty things, and I'm not surprised. This is the reason that I have been so incredibly triggered all week. It's Easter week. And as a Christian, I like to be in community Easter week, take part in all those different ceremonies and the readings and things, including on yesterday, which was Good Friday, when he published this thing, and Sunday on Easter. And as a woman dealing with multiple health problems, it's not always possible for me to do so. And I miss my family this time of the year, so I'm always kind of on edge. And the other thing about this week is that not only am I on edge, but it's a week when everyone in evangelical town loses their minds and starts acting really awful. This is the time of the year when, let's grab them. This is the time of the year that is the Super Bowl of bad behavior. And what do I mean by the Super Bowl of bad behavior in evangelical town? And I used to have a much bigger collection. This is just since I moved here. They start papering the world with all of these little pamphlets and tracts telling you that you are just going to the HE double hockey sticks if you don't accept their flavor of Jesus. So I used to see these at Easter everywhere when I lived in the States. Go to the bathroom in Lowe's. There's a pile of them in the bathroom everywhere. Walk past McDonald's and they're shoved in the bike racks. Easter is not an excuse for you to act like a jerk, but you take it. You take that and you do it. So this is what I think. I think this is Ron acting like a jerk. Now, I've never had any kind of interaction with anyone over at Midwest Christian Outreach, but I have a friend who has cried on my shoulder before about how hurt she's been by the way she's been treated and and dismissed. Now I see them going after Katie Joy, who's not one of my favorite people, but going after her for the silliest of reasons. Let me explain what Ron did in his piece. It wasn't enough for him to write why he thought it was not a good idea for Katie Joy to be sharing those photographs. Oh no, that wasn't even close to what he did. Most of us would look up what the provenance of the photograph was for sure and would have criticized her for that, for using a photograph that wasn't hers. She was given the photograph by Rachel Denholland, I think that's her name, the lady that runs Recovery Grace, and she was given the photograph to prove that there was some interlockingness between the two, and they may have influenced each other. So instead of criticizing the actual theological points, besides throwing shade at the tabloidish nature of how the photograph was used, Ron takes it into the most toxic but typical evangelical behavior of all times. He contacts the person who took the photograph and says, "Hey, did you know so-and-so is running around and they're doing this?" So he tattles. Well, Ron, snitches get stitches. And that's not a threat. That's just me saying that when you do things that are personally not so nice, you're going to get pushback. You're going to get pushback, and it's not going to be pleasant or fun or nice pushback. It's just going to be what it is. It was fine to protest how she was using it. It was fine to say she shouldn't use it. It was fine to say that there was no link. It's not fine to contact the photographer and do a long interview with the photographer and then turn around and publish the emails and the exchanges, the IM exchanges between Paulson and the photographer, and the threats of legal action. That brings this from something that is, hey, this is not good, this is why this person has done some awful things, to it starts to look like harassment. It really does. It looks like harassment. It makes you look petty. It makes you look petty, small, tiny, small-minded. Like you're some kind of Victorian lady pearl clutching. It's not a good look. And it's not a good look for Christian masculinity, whatever that is. So I've seen this so many times, and I've seen this with this particular world of evangelical town where they believe that they can just routinely beat up on women using the stupidest of reasons instead of using real legitimate reasons. So it starts to come off as harassment. So last night I took a look and I did a side-to-side comparison between Gothard and MacArthur's theology because I was thinking when he was saying all this, Paulson alleges that Gothard and MacArthur were friends, that they were interrelated, all of that. And Gothard and MacArthur and Pauls have said they didn't know each other, which the picture clearly puts that into dispute. Clearly, if they're standing at the podium together, they know each other. So they know each other. That's clear. Their theology is almost identical in so many ways. They both are spin-offs from the IFB, the Independent Fundamentalist Baptists. They both are. They both came out of that world. They both carried out that theology. In fact, when I started writing and comparing the theology side by side on women working, complementarianism, women in the ministry, education of children, and the modesty of women, they were both in lockstep over everything, except that Gothard won't allow you to wear pants, but MacArthur will. Pants. And MacArthur wouldn't bash anyone sending their kids to public school. He said that he could not make those decisions for you, which is actually the legitimate stance to take. It's a legitimate stance to take. But everything else, lockstep. So Paulson is right about that. She is absolutely right that these two guys are interconnected, whether they claim it or not. They have similar theology. They both came out of the same evangelical traditions. And that's a fact. That's something you can take to the bank, okay? It's not like they're best friends and they're going to be holding hands and making daisy chain crowns for each other or skipping off into the sunset. No, it's not that kind of a thing. One thing I do know about these guys from having sat under their teaching so many times and watched the subtle shade they try to throw at each other is that they're more rivals. They're more rivals for the same stuff. As was said in the movie The Warriors by Cyrus, they're fighting for the same small 5 feet of turf. They're fighting for turf. Can you dig it? They're fighting for the same turf. There's only so many evangelical eyes and dollars that these guys will ever rack up. And that's what a lot of this stupidity is about, where they start fighting with each other instead of, or throwing subtle shade, or not acknowledging each other. They're rivals for a limited number of eyeballs. I am hoping and praying that this kind of evangelicalism dies off and becomes the fertilizer for something healthier, less goopy, less full of sexual molesters, less everything hateful, and becomes something nicer. And the guys like Ron Hensel see that the women are not inanimate objects. We don't have to be controlled by men. We're co-inheritors in the kingdom. I know that probably makes me a feminist, and I am a feminist. I believe in equality between the sexes. And I don't believe in the kind of limits that Jesus would not have put on anyone. I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom. And these guys don't want freedom. They want to take you back to the past. They want to take you back to a time when women were treated like, how can I say this nicely? Because I know we usually call these guys, we should call them bang. We usually say they only want bang maids that cook. This is the kind of guys who'd be better off with a sex robot if it cooked, instead of real, actual, living, breathing, thinking human beings, women. So if they can other women and other the gays and other this group and other that group, they can strip the humanity away from people. And when they do that, it makes it much easier for them to justify in their mind destroying these people, including women. Dear Ron, I'm not going anywhere. And while I may not like Katie Joy Paulson, and I may make every effort not to speak about her, she wasn't completely wrong here. But you are, and your response to her and your takedown of her, that was just like using a nuclear bomb to crush a bug. I am just slack-jawed today in incredulity because of this. I just blows my mind. On a Good Friday, and now the next morning, I'm going to have to take another mental health day, because when I'm having the kind of asthma I've had lately, this stuff really affects me. And I shouldn't let it. I need to just rise above all of this and rant about other things. So there's that. Okay. Thank you for watching. If you've made it through this far, congratulations. I know I am wordy, I am verbose, I just keep rambling on stuff. But that's just how I am. But I'm not as verbose as he is because I managed to summarize my thoughts in 2 pages. And I think if you printed out Ron's response to Paulson, it would have probably clocked in at least 10 pages. 10 pages of ridiculous nonsense. If you could do the YouTubey things and hit like, subscribe on the way out, that would be awesome. If not, oh well. Love you guys. Have a wonderful Easter weekend. I won't be back tomorrow because I am actually going to church. I'm going with an N95 mask on so that any dog hair will not affect me much, and I'm going to be doped to the gills. So I'm planning on having a good Easter too. I may even indulge in a little medical before I go, since that seems to help so much. See you guys later.